So I would like to introduce myself a little bit with my background. What did I do in the past? So for over 20 years, I've been working in IT and the digital video broadcast industry. I started off as a system administrator and later on progressed my career into systems integration, and then traveled around the world, worked as a technical lead on the many projects. And obviously in 20 years, I've gained a lot of experience in the IT, networks and broadcast systems, which means really wide range knowledge in the telecommunications, in the video broadcast systems, as well as the IT systems. So for the main part, obviously my focus was on the information and telecommunications technologies. However, learning was always my main interest. So learning pretty much anything I could get my hands on. In that respect, I learned with the 20 years of experience and living, not just as a working as a professional, I've learned that getting information sometimes is really difficult. Learning things is really difficult. And actually starting off with the year 2020, which was not really pleasant for most of us, it became really apparent that centralization of the media, information, education, and all of these bigger organizations, I will just say that the big tech in a sense, and then the mainstream media are not effectively serving us in terms of transparency, in terms of being really honest with us about everything that's going on. And this is the problem. And it's not so much a problem about what we're being told, but the problem that there is a big division going on between the people. And the best way to stop the division from going on and people literally turning into some sort of hate into each other is to start talking and continue talking to each other. Now, whether people can be right or wrong, it's not really important, but most importantly is that we allow them to talk. So obviously, censorship, or what we call today the cancel culture, is definitely not a step forward. And retrospectively, after 20 years of really excellent career, at the end of year 2019, I started realizing that as much as I was working for international corporations, and it was an excellent learning opportunity, excellent professional opportunity, I have been actually part of the enabler of these systems. So the broadcast systems, the media systems, the telecommunication systems, and in the end, also big tech. And it became, to me, it became really, on a personal level, it became sort of time to decide which side I'm going to be on. And it's not so much whether it's left or right. It's not about politics. And it's really more about, am I on the side of humanity, or am I on the side of purely just technological progress, profit, and sadly to say so, greed? So I made my decision. In the 2019, I quit my really well-paid corporate freelancing jobs and decided I'm never going to turn back that way. I still work in IT, but I do work with a company of people which are, first and foremost humanists. They are human. They are more like a family rather than just a company or a team at work. And this is really something that basically I wish most of the humanity could continue and focus on. And that's the most important part. So what I would like to emphasize today is how important it is for all the individuals, and in my opinion, as well as individuals, institutions, businesses, and organizations that do feel that we need to discuss, that we need to have open discussions, open communication channels, and free flow of information, no matter what, that it's rather our duty to step up and start actively and proactively looking for solutions which will help us achieve that, which will also help us achieve, let's say, a better future and more transparent future for all of the humanity. So there are new technologies. One of the most important in this step of, let's say, new wave of freedom for humans is definitely blockchain. Not cryptocurrencies as such, but also cryptocurrencies, because obviously they give us an opportunity to create our own currencies, create our own economies, which are independent from the governments, independent from the systems, and also very independent from corruption, because the most important part of the system, what I see personally, is the corruption, which is really present everywhere. And it's killing the small businesses and the medium businesses, while the bigger ones are just getting way too strong. So what can we do? There are technologies that can help us create our smaller, more regionalized groups, economies, communication channels, even media. So blockchain is really interesting from that perspective, because whatever you put on the blockchain cannot be changed, cannot be deleted. So in that respect, it cannot be censored. And there are already networks that exist like that. One of the really most popular at the moment is minds.com. Then there's a video network, which is really okay as well. It's odyssey.com. And then there's lots more. There are different technologies emerging. There's software being developed that is called PeerGos, which is a peer-to-peer communication and data sharing technology, which is totally based on the fact that it does not require some centralized infrastructure. It does not require massive bandwidth. It doesn't require a lot of storage, because all of that is synchronized across multiple devices, which are actually owned and shared by the users. So all the data is in their hands. And on top of this technology also enables a full end-to-end encryption, which obviously provides us some sort of freedom to talk to each other without being afraid who is listening, what they're listening about, and what is going to consequentially happen if we discuss topics that maybe are not that welcome in the society today. So this is the main, let's say, call for action, to start changing our mindset a little bit in terms of turning from exchanging the ideas and the informations on the global scale, but rather start taking actions on a local scale. Because it's really important to show even the biggest and the strongest of the organizations that it is still all about us, the people and the humanity, and that we actually are in charge. And that's really important. And technology is here. Everything is here. What's not here yet is providing really easy, straightforward access for the end users to this technology, which means bridging the blockchain networks together with user interfaces, which are user-friendly, not so technical, not so complex. And there are a lot of companies and a lot of, let's say, individuals and a lot of technical groups that are capable, have the resources, and they have the infrastructure to do that. And they also have the experience. Point is, do they have the focus? And do they have the desire to do something about it? And this is where I want to open, let's say, rather more a question to others. How far are they willing to go in order to preserve what humanity has always been? And that's basically, let's say, more like a final statement for me. And in terms of presenting technologies, why I couldn't prepare a good presentation to actually point you to the right directions. One was the time constraint, and unfortunately, I've been really busy with some personal matters. And on the other, it's not that difficult to find, but it will have to divert from using search engines like Google or browsers, because personally, I found right now that if I want to see more transparency, then there are other alternatives like DuckDuckGo and other browsers and search engines. And more importantly, whatever of the social media and the networks is still left not so heavily censored. Well, there's one of them is still quite okay to find more sources of information from, let's say, experts and non-experts. It's still Reddit, but it's also becoming increasingly difficult. And this is the problem, because there are multiple, when it comes to a very specific subject of the last year's pandemic, there are multiple experts, and experts always have different opinions. Science has never been totally unanimous or in a consensus. It's just impossible, because that's what science is about. It's about questioning, it's about testing, and it's about making sure that what we question, we get the right answers. And what I see as of last year and before, it's no secret, we have been misinformed also by our governments, by the mainstream media on many occasions. Let's say one of the most critical in the past, I don't know how many remember, was a talk about the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. That was basically the main reason why that country was invaded. And back in those days, I remember even myself being called a conspiracy theorist because we had information, we had first access data, first class data, that this was not true. And only years after the invasion, I think it was about 5 years, where journalists finally found a whistleblower, that was really confirmed. So, and that's not the only case where we have been misled. And it involved mainstream media, and it involved governments on a grand scale. Last year has become even more apparent. Personally, I always prefer a freedom of choice for everybody. So everybody can choose what they want to do with themselves, with themselves and with their body, but on the basis that these are really informed choices. And lately, what we can see, having such a one-way stream of information, one-way direction from everywhere on a global scale, it just simply says it by itself that something is really wrong. And there's a lot of people from the technical field first, including me, myself, we started looking and comparing what we see in the media to what we actually can pull from the statistics in the raw data from the national health institutions around the world. And it's just not the same kind of picture we should be seeing. And whenever we say this, we get banned, doctors get banned, other experts get banned, lawyers, etc. And this is really where technology that we have, resources that we have, are most important to begin a new field of communication and a new kind of media between ourselves that is totally transparent, because this is the only way we can really learn what's going on with us, what's going on with the world, and how we can move forward together, hopefully as a one big family, instead of spread out in at least two different poles, as we see now. And I think, for me, that would be pretty much all to say for today. And I would be very open to some questions right now, and any suggestions, also critique, because that's always important. Feel free to criticize, because people who are willing to accept the critique will learn the best, and we will move forward only that. And thank you.